Well, and and a lot of wrestling fans. You got involved with Elizabeth Hewlett, and
Hmm.
a lot of wrestling fans, Lex, remember her, and this is how I saw it too. Is that she was Miss Elizabeth, the innocent
Hmm.
woman by Randy Savage's side, and then basically after she left the WWF, she disappeared in many ways to them. Like she did some, spots in WCW with you. So I don't think they ever really understood who she was. And
Hmm.
can you give us some background on that? Because Randy and Liz were divorced in '92, and
Right.
everybody knew of their relationship. Those who worked within the company, we knew what that relationship was. It wasn't as insane as people make it out to be in a sense, but Randy was unbelievably protective or jealous and all these and right. So it wasn't a real healthy relationship. But could you give us some idea of who she was, um, and then how you two ended up together?
Well, we were really, I mean, everybody loved and respected Miss Elizabeth, like you said. My
Yeah,
gosh, talking
yeah,
about the iconic woman and a man sport back then, right?
right.
So, um, I really got to know her during the Monday Night Wars. We'd all stay at the same hotels, and we'd see each other at the building. And what I thought, there's no such thing as innocent flirtation. I was obviously a married man and had
Yeah,
no business with any other women. Looking back on it now, but work hard, play hard. Over time, we got to know each other a little bit at the building. Um, Never any thoughts of her or I like hooking up or anything. And then she was married. I was married.
hmm,
She had remarried someone. Randy was a long time ago, and he had brought other women like to the buildings that go to the ring with them. So that was long done with. And she had remarried a guy in South Florida. So what started out as I thought as innocent flirtation a little bit with a lot of us, the Nitro girls and the guys in the hotel. Mix all that together, right, Sean?
yeah.
After the matches with alcohol
Oh
and pills
boy,
and
yeah,
yeah. So, what started out as I thought was an flirtation ended up becoming a full-blown extramarital affair for both of us.
yeah,
And she ended up getting divorced and moving to Atlanta, where I lived, and it continued on and progressed. And yeah, that was something happened, and she. The lifestyle that we were all living at the time was, what we just talked about with drugs and alcohol. She was partaking in that as well.
hmm,
But who would have? None of us ever anticipate overdosing, which is tragically what happened with Elizabeth. And I've discussed before the night it happened. I mean, I spent the day with my son. And I came back, and we ended up watching movies and popping some pills and drinking some vodka. And right before I called 911, literally, she was standing at the microwave. I was heating us up some Boston Market meatloaf and mashed potatoes, one of our favorites. And
hmm,
she had gotten up to the microwave to help out. I go, oh, I got this. Let's sit down. I got this. Took her meatloaf and mashed potatoes and he'd mime up and got back and sat down on the couch, and she I thought she'd fallen asleep. And I told people this, and when I talk about drugs, that you just never know how dangerous drugs are, like Russian roulette.
yeah,
1 minute she was fine, standing next to me at the microwave. The next minute, I thought she was asleep on the couch. I'd nudge her and say, "Hey, Lex, wake up. Hey, Liz, wake up. Eat your grub." And she didn't respond.
mm,
I'm like, wow, she's really. Boy, did she pass out. So I set my tray down, stood up, and got over her and kind of shook her a little bit to wake her up, and she did not respond.
mm,
And I'll just never forget, I pulled her eyelids back, and her eyes were like completely dilated.
mm.
And she didn't respond. I go, uh-oh. Right away, Sean, I knew something was really bad going on. I'm not medic or doctor or anything, but I ran to the phone and called 911 and tried to follow. It's really a blur to me even now. I lived right down the street from the fire department. They were there, Sean, within like 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And I was trying to do CPR, which I didn't really know how to do, but they came in and took over and ended up carting her out of there. And I thought, wow, they're going to get her to the hospital and she's going to be okay. And she wasn't. I was sitting out in my front yard and they told me that she didn't make it. So I remember when they went through my place, they found all the drugs and alcohol that was a part of my lifestyle back then. They arrested me on drug possession. And I remember sitting in the jail cell that night realizing, wow, this is a really dark time.
Mm-hmm.
And I've shared this a couple of times. I thought about, it's the only time in my life I thought about that. Talk about people, what was the low point? Like, I remember thinking about, they take your shoelaces, they take everything from you when you get checked into jail. I was there on drug possession, on drugs they found.
Mm-hmm.
And because there was a lot of big quantities. I was the big party house there. And they took me in, and I was in the jail cell, and they put me by myself because they didn't want to put me in general population because people knew who I was.
Yeah.
Inmates get all stirred up. So I'm in the jail cell myself. I actually thought, wow, there's no camera here. Maybe I was trying to think of a way to end it. I thought about climbing up. There's a dividing wall in this little cell I was in by myself that shut the toilet off. I thought about maybe if I could climb up on top of that divider wall, put my hands behind my head and fall head first on the cement to the floor, I can end it all.
Jeez.
So that was that night.
Yeah.
And I didn't do that, but I sure thought about it.
Yeah.
And that was a really dark time for me for a period of a couple years, Sean.
Yeah.
I thought my career was over. I thought what happened with Liz and the tragedy there, unspeakable tragedy there. People thought, wow, that might be a wake-up call. I went further into it. As I speak with you today, I'm a miracle of God to be here.
Yeah. You were trying to numb yourself?
I went into total self-medication mode.
Yeah.
And I got high every night. I would pop pills, drink. I mean, I wasn't trying to kill myself, but I sure was I was on the path of destruction for sure. It's a miracle I didn't overdose so many of those nights over the next couple of years. I ended up moving into a hotel and just even isolating myself. I wasn't even going out anymore. I was in a total period of isolation at that point.